So I think you know enough. What I'd like to do now is premiere this original video by Mary Rose Sennick, R.R. Hawkins, Past, Present, Future. When I became chairman of the PROSE Awards 3 years ago, I wanted to know more about R.R. Hawkins. The most prestigious of all of our awards is named for him. And yet, who is he? Who is R.R. Hawkins? Looking through research about R.R. Hawkins, we found an article by Jay Lucker, who said he was R.R. Hawkins' assistant at the New York Public Library 53 years ago.
He was very straightforward and, he made it clear that he expected people who worked for him to be industrious and to be professional and efficient, and he set a very high standard because I remember watching him work and how he worked. He's a very, very hard-working man and very knowledgeable. But what was most amazing about him, he just knew so much about the field of scientific and technical literature. You just listen to him talk about books, talk about publishing, talk about science, and it was an education. And so he wanted me to be very analytical about what I was looking at. And he didn't like flowery prose. He wanted to be concise and direct, and that's the way he was as a person. I mean, no nonsense. He was really a father figure to me. My father died many, many years before that, so just having someone I got to work with had that kind of influence as well. He was a kind man. He was a thoughtful person. He was supportive of people doing things. He was very supportive of me going to conferences and getting out and to meetings and things.
When Hawkins retired from the New York Public Library in 1957, the New York Times ran a story about it. The Times called him a science bibliographer. He was an intermediary. He was enabling access to knowledge. There was probably no higher calling for a librarian then or now.
In his era, he was the most closely identified person in the country with the literature of science and technology. I don't think anybody would argue with that in the 1950s and later. So it seemed to me if you're going to give out an award for the best scientific and technical book, and if you weren't going to name it after somebody who'd given you a lot of money, then you'd give it after somebody whose contribution to the literature of science and technology, to the publishing, was so immense. I mean, that seems obvious to me.
So one day, out of the blue, arrives an email from Bob Hawkins, 83 years old, living in England, and he's the long-lost son of R.R. Hawkins. We didn't know anything about him, but we wanted to know more.
Well, my name is Robert Douglas Hawkins. I was born in New York City on the 4th of August, 1927. I can remember going into his desk, into his office, which was seemed sizable to me, and he had a big desk. And he just had this on the desk. He brought it out and showed it to me. That's all. Showed me how the belt moved. And this is in my name, and it's this is on the C platform. This is called a buckling pad. All right, and it's the first patent I got. Of course, this was a publicity shot to publicize a gadget I invented called Septron, which was able to listen to and then subsequently recognize noises of a particular sort. I mean, this is the first one we built, and this is a wooden one. Now this is the air cushion vessel's sea space, and it's standing on its legs on the beach in Oyster Bay. There's no water involved. You bring this thing over, plug it in like that, lock it like that, and you're ready to go.
From Bob, we learned that his son, Jeff, RR's grandson, founded Palm Pilot and invented Palm Computing, a true 21st century visionary. So right there, we had 3 generations of innovators and inventors whose achievements mirrored the progression of our own industry, from basic print to the most sophisticated knowledge tools man has known.
But I see an enormous similarity in a mind of one generation that seeks to protect and amass and build scientific libraries of information, and in another generation that seeks to make new discoveries, to master engineering in a burgeoning field of electronics, and to take that beyond and do something creative with that. And then in yet another generation, someone growing up with our new technologies and our ability to communicate would develop some of these electronic models that would be the next stores of information.
And I suspect when he was in that physical building, he saw himself as the collector of all of these works. He saw himself as the person who would try to preserve it for future generations. He saw himself as the person who would help direct people like myself through all of these big, intimidating stacks of information that were bound by covers. He saw himself as the one to enable that.
The world that R.R. Hawkins inhabited has dramatically changed, but the reasons that we honor the very best work that our industry produces have not.
What did librarians do? They connected people's interests with published material. They facilitated that discovery. In an electronic world, they'll have more tools to work with. They may have less physical structure to work with.
But I think the whole world of science librarianship has changed in a most dramatic way. And so I would say, that having a science and technology physical collection is probably an anachronism. So he would probably not recognize, well, he would understand, but not recognize how science libraries work today.
I hope you enjoyed that. Jay Lucker went back with our filmmaker and with James Noble, who's in the back actually, and his crew, to the New York Public Library to see the office where he and R.R. worked together before 1957. It's long since been inaccessible to the public. We got special permission to take him back there. Those were some of the videos that we shot as a result. Jay had not been back since then. And it was just I think a very overwhelmingly emotional thing for him to go back. We asked him to come today. Believe it or not, he is still actively consulting all over the world, building libraries. And today, this very day, Jay, hello, I know you're down there. He's at the Ringling College of Art and Design, helping them to design a new library. So anyway, great guy.